The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
It's a rainy day, Allison.
It is a rainy day. We've got rain out here out east. Rain in the west, rain across Pennsylvania then.
It's a rainy day.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And do you know why?
Why is that, Jamie?
Because we get to stay inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good thing, too, that I don't have any opportunities to be outside working because we have not one, not two,
Nope.
not three, not even seven.
Not even seven.
We have 10 letters today.
10. I will say some are a little shorter than usual, but...
Well, yes, this is true.
We're going to pass a lot of time here.
Way to take the fire out of my... out of my 10 letters.
Yeah, double digits of letters today.
This is true.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very nice episode.
It is.
We have a lot to get into. We kind of left last week on a little bit of a cliffhanger.
We did. Mm-hmm. Now, let's resume actually where we were at the end of last week. So everybody get your coffee. You're going to need it in this episode. One thing we should remind people, and if you didn't go and listen to episode 60, you definitely should, because Elizabeth got married. So Lou's sister Elizabeth, otherwise known as Dit, got married. End of the episode, there's the wedding photos from that. That tells us, and it's some of the only evidence that tells us, other than the first couple of documents we're going to have here today, that in the summer of 1948, which all of a sudden, we're in 1948 in the summer, Sweetie's planning on leaving Pennsylvania. So is Lou, and so is Louis. So as a family... Well, Louis doesn't really get a vote in the matter.
No. He's just there. He's just along for the ride. Yeah.
But they're going to head away from Pennsylvania. So we're going to start today's episode with 2 letters from Collingdale. We're back to Collingdale, and we've had some time spent at Collingdale. If you're unfamiliar with Collingdale, that's where Lou's mother lives. That's where Elizabeth had lived. Now she is married, so the assumption is she's moved out of the house at this point to go live with her new husband, Mr. Brown, Bob Brown, who's going to get referenced in this letter. So that's his name if you hear another Bob being mentioned all of a sudden. But yeah, so we'll get into the letters here in a moment. Hey, everybody, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'd very much appreciate that. Leave comments. You know, it's neat to see the audience being engaged with the videos. We want to hear back from you about what you think about the episode. You know, if there's certain subjects that you'd like to hear more about from us, or if you have any questions about things, feel free to leave them in the comments of the YouTube videos. For the audio listeners on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and the other channels, if you could leave a review, we greatly appreciate that. But we definitely appreciate you as well listening in with this story every single week. There are going to be a lot of photographs, especially for this audience. I'm going to note in the description from what time period of the video that occurs, and I'm going to encourage you, I'll put the link up to our photo albums on the Love Sweetie podcast website, so you're able to follow along with those photographs and see them, because once you start hearing about them, I think you're going to realize why you will definitely want to go to the website and check these out. But without further ado, yeah, Jamie, Sweetie's in Collingdale. She hasn't had good memories in Collingdale, but this is the home of her mother-in-law, Sydney, and we're going to see what she's talking about now. 936 Springfield Road, Collingdale, Pennsylvania, July 19th, 1948. Dear Mama and Daddy, at last we've put our furniture on the trucks, said goodbye to the driver, and he's just started on his way to Washington, D.C. to deliver the Iowa census, and they'll direct him someplace else to fill up his truck. He was quite surprised to see how much stuff we had. Frankly, so were we, and the bill will be high, too, I warn you. I asked him to estimate the weight, and he said, well, you'd better call it 3,000 pounds, and count on it costing $250. I know you're going to be wondering what we have, and where you'll put it, too. So am I, and you'll also see why I keep hoping for a house. The driver said you'd have to have cash, or else a certified check, or they'd not be able to leave the furniture. He cannot accept a check for it. I hasten to write you this so that the baking powder can may be looked into. I hate to write you this cost, and I hate to total up the amount of money you've loaned us, and what we get we'll have to ask. But we're keeping track, and hope we'll soon begin to pay it off. Another reason why we want so badly to get into this on the farm training program is to speed up our repaying you. I hope you're not going to have too much trouble getting that amount ready for him. He estimated delivery within 10 days, but he said it would depend on where he was sent from Washington. He came alone. I had to call Lou at the base. He got special liberty and came home to help load. It took about 3 hours to load, and he paid Lou $3 for helping load. Lou is getting out, but he won't be released until the 27th, and we expect to leave on the 30th if possible. I've sent Aunt Sarah's address in my accumulated mail, and also Frank's new address. If you'll mail a postcard with those addresses, I'll appreciate it again. It won't be long now until we'll be there. I hope you don't feel too bad about the amount of money. I can't set a date when we'll pay it all back, but I promise we'll try to do the best we can. I'm anxious to start, so we can see you soon. You know I don't get excited about things until late, but now that the ball, or rather truck, is rolling, I can hardly wait. I'll drop a series of cards. You mail the addresses as soon as you can, and we'll soon be there now. Love to you both. Sweetie. Wait till you see Sid. Course, nobody here sees it but me, but he should be Chess instead of Sid. I'll bet my family agrees too when they see him. He's smart, I make no bones about that. He's really a smart kid, but he's quite a little character too. But you'll see, and soon. Love, Sweetie.
She is going back home.
She is going back home.
Well, they're all going home.
Yep.
They're all going to Iowa. Oh my goodness. So I want to point out too, when Allison transcribes these letters, she usually gives us information. You can see this on the screen. This is a handwritten letter.
Yep.
The typewriter is gone.
Yep.
So I'm assuming Dick got it back. That's what I'm assuming.
That's my guess. Yeah.
And so we aren't going to get these long, long letters. And these are all going to be handwritten. Right, from what I've seen, like everything is handwritten.
Yeah, for a bit here, yeah. One of the things in this letter is they're mentioning the farm program. Now, this letter is addressed to Sweetie's father, Chester, and her mother, Laura. And they mention that they might stop and see some family on the way. That's because the two families, Laura's family and Chester's family, really have a lot of family around the area of Indiana and Ohio and spots out there. So if they're heading to Iowa, if they can get a chance to see family, they're going to do that. So we hear some mentions of some aunts and uncles, and I'm going to be updating the website to provide some information on these individuals. But I think largely she's talking about some of Laura's side of the family here. There was a close connection with her aunts on her mother's side, and then the closest connection, of course, on her father's side was her Uncle Cyril. And then they're talking about the farm. Now, this is going to come up a lot in this episode. There's some sort of training program for a farm because, let's face it, Lou is in the Navy. He is a sailor man. So
he is. It is in his blood.
Yep. So they're going to try an adjustment here. And so there's some sort of training that's going to be required. We know Chester had bought a farm. Perhaps the farm is becoming too much for only Chester. Perhaps that's some of the story in the background. But for whatever reason, she's hoping that her parents will loan some money to get their delivery of items when they pack up their furniture, and it's just off to DC. And that's it.
And she says, too, about how much stuff they had. And she, in a few episodes back, when she was counseling Jean, and she was discussing, this reminded me of it, she said that we have all our furniture secondhand, but I couldn't bear to part with any of it.
Yep.
And I guess she didn't. to the tune of $250.
3,000 pounds of furniture being moved from
And now
Pennsylvania.
$250 in this day and age.
Okay, let's see what the
Could you please? Thank
let's see what the
you.
exchange is from that time period. Okay, so inflation, great. If it was today, would cost $3,334.
That is a lot. Now I can understand her reservations, and obviously she feels very bad about this and asking to borrow more money from her dad and her mom. And then the other thing I wanted to discuss, she says she's obviously talking about little Lewis, and they call him Sid. Does he look like Sydney? Or
well, I wonder. And then they said Chess, and I know that my dad did have reddish hair. And we know that Chester has red hair from other documentation. So that might be that maybe just some of his hair coloration's coming in. And as usual, she's using nicknames in the letters. But that's definitely in reference, to Lewis.
So he looks, I think that little Lewis looks a lot like Chester. And that makes me so happy.
Yeah. And she's writing that to her dad. Oh, he's starting to look like you. That's going to make Chester very happy.
Oh, and I'm sure that they're very excited for her to come back to Iowa and, and to bring Lou and Lewis with her. But so now we know that they're going back to Iowa and hopefully like helping out the farm. But that's only our first letter.
Yep. So here comes the next one. Only a few days after that letter that we just heard. 936 Springfield Road, Collingdale, Pennsylvania, July 23rd, 1948. Dear Jean, in my typical Johnny-come-lately fashion, I write airmail and beg you to answer likewise, and here's why. We're not sure what stops we'll make, nor what traveling we expect to make a day, so we are asking you to send us some Benzedrine to use for night driving. It is the hot time of year, you know, and daytime driving is hot and hard on the car. Driving at night would eliminate heating the car so much, we'd have less traffic and easier driving for us, too. If I send this airmail today, Friday, you should get it by Monday. If you send us a small packet of them on Monday, we should have it by Wednesday, and we expect or hope to leave here on Friday the 30th, if possible. You know, Lou isn't released until the 27th, Wednesday. We have to take Lou's mother to the hospital again. She injured her wrist, right, and has had it in a plaster splint for almost a month. We will have a day for final preparations and getting the car in shape, and then hope to leave on Friday, if we can. I've sent Aunt Sarah's and Frank's new address in the sewing machine drawer in the truck. If you have either, please send them too. I'm not sure just where we'll go or what stops we'll make. That will depend on the time we can make. But I do think we'll stop at Aunt Mary's and Frank's, if nowhere else, though I'd like to see Aunt Rosanna, and Daddy wants us to stop at Aunt Sarah's. I doubt if we'll be there much before August 4th. If I knew definitely, of course, I'd tell you, but as Lou says, that is X. I'd like to go first to Des Moines. I believe Lou did too when he drove out alone, and maybe we will too. That way we can see you and Sister before we go on to Lacona. I'm glad you checked on the stamps for us. I'll send this out at once and hope we will have Benny to keep us awake on the trip. I apologize for not writing, but like you, it leaves us so much more to talk about. The trucker here left July 19th with the furniture. It is going to cost $250 to ship the stuff, and I know Daddy is going to fuss about that. If you have any opportunity to smooth it over at all, I'll appreciate it. After all, we all have our Valentines. I love you for writing as you did, offering us your cash, but don't believe I'll ask for any now. But X, you know. I'll help with a gift for Elizabeth when we get there. It won't be long now. Oil up that jam hinge. If you can pass the greeting on to Sister, do so. Send Benny and the addresses, and we'll see you soon. Lots of love. Sweetie, Lou, and Lewis.
Benny,
yeah.
So they're getting some help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's what you could say. To drive. And I mean, I can understand she's driving at night.
Yep.
I mean, well, you know. But I do kind of like this, and he's mentioned this before. Lou, when he refers to the unknown, he's like, this is the unknown. It's the X. It's the X. And I like that. It's like a little That's
becoming
his
his
little
thing.
idiosyncrasy.
Yeah. And it's really just planning. We know now that they're firmly planning on leaving on the 30th of July.
Yeah.
Because Lou has to finish up at the base. So he's fully leaving the Navy at this point. And he has not left the Navy since World War II. So this is a big change for him. And of course, unfortunately, his mother hurt her wrist. And that's just, one more thing. But time to pack up and go. Let's head to Des Moines. Let's see Jean first. Sweetie will always just want to see Jean first. But we do get this little shred of information here that sister's also at least close to or in Des Moines at the same time. So she's hoping to see her siblings before she heads to Lacona, and then she'll see her parents when they arrive.
And it's a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you think about planning a trip.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, well, we're just doing it. I mean, and you can do that now, but you can also like easily get on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten on my phone before and been like, and ordered stuff from Sheets.
Right.
And we got to the, I'm like, it's an hour away, so I'll order it for this time. We'll be there in an hour, and then we just go and pick it up and like leave.
Right.
I've done stuff like that. You can't. This isn't that kind of time.
Oh no. I mean, think about it. She's writing this letter, and she says, we might see you in Des Moines. They don't have cell phones. They don't have phones. Sweetie's basically could just show up at Jean's and be like, hey, we're here. So we made it. Maybe they'll get a penny postcard out. Maybe, but she makes no mention of that. She's just like, hey, we might stop by.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. They just know that they're going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fun though. Yeah. The spontaneous trip. And that's when I took my honeymoon, we knew we had to be in Maine at a certain day, but we had time in between. So we just stopped off at a hotel. It's fun. It's more like spontaneous, like, and they did that before when they came in the other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so so they're definitely, and this is what they will be there this summer. Like that's when they're planning on being there, is in the summer. Wow.
It's going to be hot in Iowa, on the farm. In the 1948 there. I actually did that road trip. My dad and I, we drove across from where we are, which is very close to where they're setting out, and drove all the way out to Des Moines. I think taken together somewhere around 13 hours by today's standards with our cars today, hauling along pretty quickly. So it's going to be much, much longer for them, just taking their time. Hopefully not running into traffic at night, but hey, the way from southeastern Pennsylvania to Iowa goes through some pretty metropolitan areas. We know Frank's in the Chicago area, so it's likely they got into some of that Chicago traffic and things like that.
Ooh.
But
we were just in that Chicago traffic. Do you remember?
Yeah. Chicago traffic is for real. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, to this day.
Yes.
But that was like, and you're right. These letters are nice and short, and they're giving us a little bit of information. Yeah. So this is exciting, and we're only on. We're on the third letter.
The third letter is actually not from Sweetie. It's a day later from Sweetie's letter, and we get to hear from Sweetie's father, Chester. So Chester writes a letter, Jean saved the letter, and let's see what's going on in Lacona in the meantime.
Lacona, Iowa, July 24th, 1948. Dear Jean, we are sending you Sweetie's last letter. We expect them here not before a week or 10 days from now. You can pass it on to Lizzie, though I am dropping them a hurried line about their prospective date of arrival. We would like to have your letter promised over the phone. We do not have the bathroom up yet, but we hope costs the foundation, and it seems okay. Have a lot of work to do. We want to go to the place on Sunday. We are out on an OB false alarm call last night. Wish to goodness they were over. Write when you can. Your Papa.
The Chester letter. I'm so excited. I have not had a Chester letter in so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is, again, another example of like how letters were in this time.
Right.
And I'm sure that the letters that we just went through were in the same envelope as this when Aunt Jean saved them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he even says, we are sending you Sweetie's last letter.
Yeah. The one we heard from the 19th, the first letter we listened to in this episode. And that's why he thinks it's going to take 10 days because she's telling her parents. Delivery truck, 10 days and things like that. So he's directly referencing that communication. And that's how that letter to Chester and Laura was saved, of course. Yeah, it all goes to Jean Good job, Jean. It fills in all these gaps. Yeah. I was talking to my dad, and I was like, he was curious to find out exactly why they went back to Iowa during this time period. He couldn't recall the specifics. Mind you, he was 2 years old at the time. So this is going to be filling in a lot of gaps for him as well. And then we head into August. Now, by this time, Sweetie and Lou have arrived in Iowa. So we'll pick up where we left off, go back to Sweetie's perspective, and now she's finally arrived back where she likes to be, which is her home state. August 11th, 1948. To Dr. Chester Demaree. Thank you for your kindness to my daughter. I found the deposit slips and have them made up ready to go. Your pen and pencil set is in the right-hand dresser drawer. Do let us hear whatever you hear from Cliffy, and I'm already dying to know what has already happened at work that you couldn't tell me over the phone. So write about that too, as soon as possible. Thanks for the things you've given us, and thanks so much for loaning us the money. Love, Sweetie.
So, on July 24th, she was about a week to 10 days out.
Yeah.
So they arrived and were able to arrive. But this, okay.
There's a bit of confusion with this letter, though.
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion. I'm trying to work this out. So can you clear this up a little bit?
Yeah. So what's going on here is she's writing on the back of an envelope. So don't be thrown off by Massachusetts appearing as the address. That just happened to be on the envelope. So we can rule that out. She's also, the envelope was marked to Dr. Demaree. So this letter somehow wound up with him. But it seems that the letter is actually to Jean because she's referencing Cliffy. And what I suspect strongly, and this is where some of the ambiguities come in with what's going on at the time period, I suspect strongly that Jean loaned them money as well. Hence, she's asking about Cliffy. But we also know that she borrowed a lot of money from her parents because of the moving truck. So it could just be a note that, because the first quote seems to be in reference to her dad, that she left there on an envelope. He forwards to Jean. We know they all wind up with Jean anyway. So this is kind of a combination letter to both parties. It doesn't say that much, but it does reveal at least where she is at the time period. So we know by August 11th, she's there. This is one of those trickier letters to just simply decipher. Cliffy is in regards to Clifford, who is the guy Jean has been dating. Now, it's not clear that he ever proposed to her and she was thinking about marrying this guy. But the interesting thing about this letter is also that we know they're still together in August of 1948, which is why it's very important to show this letter, confusing as it may be, this quick note. And we know it's from Sweetie because of the handwriting and the signature, but it points out that that relationship has not yet ended. So it allows us to keep that timeline.
So definitely, this is to Jean.
I think it's to Jean by way of Chester. Yeah.
Your pen and pencil set is in the right-hand dresser drawer. Which tells me that she was with Jean in Des Moines. This is fun.
Right.
This is fun.
I really detective out where they were from between the lines. Yep.
Yes, because she even says in the letters, and I wrote, no. She says, I apologize for not writing, but like you, it leaves so much more to talk about. And when they talk, I'm like, we don't get to know, but that's okay.
Right.
Okay. So she was definitely in Des Moines. She knew where the pen and pencil set was.
Yep.
And that makes more sense because I was like, if she's writing to Chester's in Lacona with her, she could just go talk to him. That's silly. So now I understand. Okay, so this was on an envelope, and yes, she did loan some money. Jean did loan.
I suspect she did. Yeah, and she's still with Cliffy. Yeah, it's that detective work. One short paragraph, though, if we know the context of the greater story of what's going on, we can slowly work out what has occurred from the others. Yeah, I love the detective aspect of that.
It's super fun. And this is great too. This is the best day ever. So we're on to our next letters, and it's number 5.
Number 5. Yep. We're going to fast forward another month. And also, here's the thing. Now, we know when Sweetie's with family, she's not writing as much. We're fast forwarding through 1948. Are people seeing 1948 start to go like, woo-hoo, like it was right by? So because we were in 46 for a while, 47 for a good amount of time, 48. We just started 2 episodes ago with the recap of Christmas 47, and now we're going into September. So 1948 is going to pass by blink of an eye. So if you want your full knowledge of that year, you only have to listen to 3 episodes in the Love Sweetie podcast. But at the same time, we know why. So moving forward into the next document here, now we're in September. Lacona, Iowa, September 13th. 1948. Dear Jean, we received your letter on this afternoon's mail, and I hasten to answer as you requested. First of all, both Louis and I have been sick with colds and flu, which has put a decided crimp in our activity. The papering in the house is done, and so is the painting largely done, but there is still much to do in cleaning and making ready, so we aren't sure yet when we'll get in. Since we're moving a few pieces at a time, by pickup, it will be done in easy stages, so I say. Go ahead to Iowa City and have a nice time. The pit is nearly ready for the new toilet. The outlet box and cable is here ready for wiring. The drain to the sink is opened up, but still needs bricking or cementing. The door is ordered, but not yet delivered. The woodwork is partly painted. The linoleums have to be taken up and cleaned, and shelves replaced in the pantry. The steps have to be painted, and a few other places touched up. But with Louis sick, I've got to stick close to home and look after him, and for a couple days there, I was practically in bed too. Lou is quite anxious to get moved in. We'll do my fall cleaning before I move in, instead of after. Go ahead and have a nice time, but tell us all about it. Now, about your vacation. We had a letter from Aunt Mary saying her sister from New York was coming to visit, and they asked the folks to wait until October to come to Indiana. There are still 2 babies due before they can go, and you know the folks can't plan too far in advance, so Mama says you should go ahead and plan your vacation anyway. You choose, for they don't expect to make plans jibe. Lou is at school 2 nights a week now, and works quite hard trying to make a showing at the farm and getting work done at the house. Mama and I went once to work a while this AM. We've got the calves now, and they're busy getting fences in. I did buy a dishpan in Des Moines, and mine got a line on the stove, but haven't definitely bought it yet. I've got to stop now and go see about Louis. Have a nice weekend, and write. Love, Sweetie.
So, it would seem that they have a house, but like this would be a house for Lou and Sweetie.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and they're probably staying with Chester and Laura.
In the meantime.
And so this house it sounds like it's almost being built.
Yeah, this is really, really rough. And this is actually an aspect that I talked to my dad about, and he doesn't even remember this house. So what's fascinating about it is we know he definitely would have stayed a ton of time while she's working in the house at the home of Dr. Demaree. So his memory and recollection of this would be very, very small. And this is a lot of repairs needed. I'm so grateful that this letter survived because it tells us that this is going on. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known. We would have just assumed, well, she's staying with Chester and Laura. No, like they're working on getting this home. Just like she wanted to get a 936 Springfield Road with Sydney, they want their own space, and Lou's going to be requesting this. She also mentioned something about the calves at the farm, and this is where I'm so delighted, Jamie, to tell you that we do have photos of this time period in Lacona, and they were annotated with what's going on. So for our audio listeners, I mentioned earlier that we're going to be going to a lot of photos. Listen in and go to the albums, certainly, to see these. They're very rare photos. They're the only ones that I know that survive from this time period of Lacona. So let me go to my files. So here's the first one. This is the house that's being talked about that Sweetie's working on.
Well, no wonder. Look at it.
It's a huge, huge house.
It looks dilapidated.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that they should have some McMansion, you know.
Yeah.
And it clearly, well, from her letter, we knew it needed work. But I mean, it appears that there's a window missing up the front. Yep. The siding looks very weathered. But this is a big house, like for the time.
Yeah. Now, Lou's written at the bottom, this is our house taken from the front. So we know this is the front view. Note the small building in the back. So off to the side on the right.
Oh, I can see it.
Building. Yep.
Yeah. Does that look like a sidewalk and a road right in front?
Sidewalk and a road. Yep.
Yeah. So there's some sidewalks. Yep. There's a road. So there's probably other houses nearby. So yeah. So this must be the house that she was referencing. Oh, neat.
So it's neat to have that. I don't know if this house still stands. I'm kind of guessing it doesn't.
No.
Just based on the condition here. If it did, somebody put a lot of work into this house, for sure. Now there's some more photos of the house here, and I have them. All right. This is definitely There's, again, this is taken from the south or rear. Note the vines on the back porch.
So, yeah, we see from the front, there's a house across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a back porch that obviously needs to be, oh my goodness.
There's a lot of work. This looks like a lot of work in the back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's a house.
It is a house. Like, thank goodness they have that. Mm-hmm. Now, check this out. Now, this is a unique photo.
Ooh.
Look who's there. So
it's Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, yeah, it's Lewis. It's
That's
Lewis.
little Lewis, yeah. So
Aww.
There's a caption here, and I'll read the caption that goes with this. It says, "This is our shower bath that I worked on when we first came here." Remember she said about digging the pit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because there's no indoor plumbing in this house. This is the new outhouse that's built on that property. But it's not just a bathroom, it's a shower as well. So that's the design of it. This is such a unique thing. He says, "The small part is for changing your clothes in. The high part is the shower. Note the boy." So they would go in here and get changed in that lower section, and then the shower would be that tall part. And we have Lewis standing in front.
I'm assuming that they had like water up there that they just allowed to like, they probably had to.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen anything like this.
Never. I've never seen anything like this. So.
And this is a shower.
Yep. Shower and outhouse.
This is an outhouse.
Yeah, it's going to be a combination outhouse with a shower in it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of fancy. That's kind of fancy when you think about it. That's a fancy outhouse.
It seems almost fancier than the house.
Right. Though I'm sorry. Like I'm thinking of this like you have to go out there in the middle of like the night and
take your shower
bath.
In January.
Oh, I'm not taking a shower in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I'm like have to get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and you'd have to walk all the way out there. That's awful. And then also like if you're showering out there, although it probably would be really nice.
Yeah.
If it's hot and stuff. But if you're showering out there and then you get out, then you're wet and then you got to dry off and then you got to get back in the house.
Right. Yeah. Hence that little changing room. That doesn't look like a lot of room to be changing in.
This is cool. It's interesting, but I'm just going to go ahead and be grateful for my ensuite.
Absolutely. So we do have one other picture here of a little close-up of that outhouse that he's built here. And we'll bring that up on the screen. And we get to see Lewis again, so that's always nice. Look, there's a shower curtain.
There is.
Mm-hmm.
And look at his little face and that little haircut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's such a big guy. Yeah, you knew he was going to be tall because look, he's 2, almost 3.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you knew he was going to be tall.
Yep. Yeah.
He has grown. My goodness.
Yeah.
That's neat. That is a cool thing. I'm sure that not very many people had something like that.
Nope. This is when indoor plumbing is really going to take over anyway. So this is like this weird in-between time that there's still some houses being built without indoor plumbing, or that they're trying to like retrofit with things and it's just not going to work. Yeah, this isn't going to keep going for very long for Americans now. No. So, all right. And then we go into now sort of changing gears with some of the photos here. Going into some of the photos of the thing that we've heard about since 1945, which is Chester's farm. And there may be some more photos on the website than we show in this episode. Check out the website, everybody. There's a lot of photos that are very interesting. All right. We've mentioned that there's a schoolhouse near to the farm. There's an old schoolhouse. I think Chester made reference of it a while back. The text here says, "The same schoolhouse, the building on the right is the coal shed." This is not the coal shed by his house, just to be very clear here. This is not where Pesumani happened, because the farm's a few miles away. So, not that coal shed. But this is the old schoolhouse that's on the edge of the property. Keep this in mind. This is going to come up in a future story about the schoolhouse on the edge of the farm property. We'll just leave that as a little teaser for some future content. But this is on the edge of Chester's farm.
In Ohio, you see schoolhouses, and sometimes out east here, I see schoolhouses. Usually they're brick, which is kind of odd that this is siding. But yeah, it has the one door.
Yeah,
and this is basically what the schoolhouses look like. This kind of, to me, like I was totally into the Little House on the Prairie series.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
the Laura Ingalls. Well, I read those so many times. And so like this would have been like a little schoolhouse kind of like that she would have dealt with.
Yeah.
It's odd too. Some schoolhouses will have 2 doors.
Yeah.
One for the boys and one for the girls. That would go into the same room, which I always thought was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is it's just got the one door.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know if this was operational? Like, did they use this for anything?
I think this was closed at this time, the one-room schoolhouse. Now, we do have another picture of it here. Let me bring it up so you can get the other view of it.
Oh.
He writes, this is the little schoolhouse on the farm. Note the bell stand out in the front of the door. So
that is. But yes, there's a big pole there, and they would have the bell so they could call school. Neat. Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. Certainly of its time. We don't see too many photos of things like this. These are all candid. And thank you to Lou, as we go through these, for writing what these photos are about. Or we'd only be guessing. We might be able to guess that's a schoolhouse, but it's nice to have these things confirmed. All right, moving into some of the next photos we have. Moving closer out into the woods here. It's interesting because like Chester really loved taking pictures of nature. And Lou, this is kind of new to him because he's always been on bases and things. So it's very different to send these back to Sydney to people that are closer to the city that don't get to see this too much. Now, this is as we start to head back into the woods of the farm. He said there's a lot of brush out on this farm. There was a lot to clear out. This one says the same pile. Note some of the other side too. We have 400 altogether. The orchard is at the end of this path. So we've heard about Chester's orchard and that he's been raising the trees and things. And you can see it's a kind of wild farm. You can notice this big pile of logs that are stacked up there. He's going to stop and take a picture of that pile of logs here in a moment. And he's going to identify just how big that is. Oh, I have it right here. Great. So let's go to that one because he notices this is the same. This is that pile of logs. He said there are 100 posts there. It's a lot of wood.
For the fencing, because they were working on fencing. Yes, because he was just talking about that. So posts for fencing. There are 100 posts there, and they have to be put in before the first snowfall. Yeah. So that's what that is. That's what Yep. I love it when things come together like this.
Yep. So I'm going to fast forward through some more. Now, we also know one of the things on the farm property is the pond. Chester was going to stock it with fish. And Lou decided to take pictures of the pond. So we get to see that water on the property.
I wonder what camera he's using because he ain't using the Sweeties.
He is not. Well, she broke her camera.
Right. Well, no. Dit did.
Dit broke the camera when she took it out to California.
Not on purpose.
It is so Dit's fault.
It is Dit's fault, though.
Completely Dit's fault, yeah. He just labels this the pond.
I like how you said it.
It's been talked about enough. All right. That's a nice
There's water.
There's
in a
water.
Hole in the ground.
This is a puttering location right here. Prime puttering.
This is the pond.
This is the pond, yeah.
We putter in the pond.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a lovely pond. And I do remember he was talking about in a previous letter, in a previous episode, about getting some grants and stuff to do the pond. Yeah, so he was like, he actually managed to maybe get some money from the government to help with the construction of this.
Yeah, he may have. We never quite got confirmation on that.
I'm just going to assume he did. He's that kind of person.
Now, Lou did take some more angles of the pond if we'd like to see some more of the pond.
Well, thank God, because I wouldn't know what a pond looked like otherwise.
Right. These are the cattails at the end of the pond. Observe the nature. So...
There's cattails in the pond.
There's cattails near a pond. Well, you know what? Maybe the city folks don't know what would grow near the pond. So,
yeah, maybe they love these pictures. They're just like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen so much water in one place in the ground.
I do think this is probably where Chester went probably most of the time. He's either in the woods or sort of looking out. Part of the pond and the haystack. So this starts to lead our conversation into the haystack itself. Which we do have a picture of the haystack coming up here. We have the picture of the pile of logs and the picture of the haystack. But yeah, he's showing the scenery, and we get to see the slope of the land. If anybody thought for a moment that Iowa is just flat, 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 these photos, especially this one, shows the topography. It's certainly not. It's very hilly. So
it really is hilly,
Mhm.
and I am joking a bit about, you know, the showing the funny pictures because I'm a
Mhm.
country girl and I grew up in a rural town.
Yeah.
And I really dislike large cities. So, but they were in Collinsdale. They were near Philadelphia. It was huge. It was a city. And
Yep.
so, yeah, this is not the kind of scenery that they would be used to.
No,
Right.
it's not. No. I know we
So,
have the haystack. Let me grab that one.
well, geez, I need to see the picture of
we,
it.
we must see the haystack.
Let's see
For
the
now, it has been mentioned in other photos. Our haystack. Note the cover to keep it dry. Okay, so that's a big stack of hay.
That is a big sack of hay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But
And I think I remember in a previous letter he was talking about he had some help. I think sister and her husband came out.
That's right.
And helped make a huge, see,
There it
I'm
is.
very good at like connecting the dots.
It's all full circle now.
It does, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And he said that it would keep the calves warm and they'd be able to graze just as they wanted to during the winter.
Yep. Oh my gosh, Jamie, speaking of the cows and keeping them warm, we have a lot of pictures of the cows. So if people are like, I like animals, are we going to get to see some of Chester's livestock here? Yes, we are. So, and guess what? We're going to get to these photos. Some of them have names. So we have the names. Remember, we've always just seen
Chuck?
Jeff the dog. Like Chuck. Yeah. So let's see how accurate Jamie is here with some of these names. Oh, there's one before I get to the pictures of the I love this photo. Before I get to the cows, and I know everyone's like, but go to the animals. You know, everybody likes animals. There's a tractor on the property too. Now I don't know how they're really driving this thing, but this is our tractor. Not a very good picture, but you can get the idea.
Get the idea.
So here's
that to me looks more like a conversation piece.
Yeah. So
than a tractor.
It seems a bit stuck in the woods, sir. But we see the brand is Farmall.
Yeah.
Farmall. I don't know if they're still in business. We should do some research on Farmall. But yeah, good old tractor out there.
Yeah, that's actually this is actually a very nice picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of cool. It's a little vintagey. These are really interesting. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is. But
the cows.
I like cows.
Let's get to the cows.
I'm guessing their names are Chuck and T-Bone. Let's see.
Chuck and T-Bone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Let's see. There's a beautiful one here. All right, let's get to the cows.
And hamburger sandwich.
Hamburger sandwich. I don't think these are going to become hamburger sandwiches.
No, they just kept them around for they're like, what are these cows for? Display.
Yeah. It's possible that these were RIP. But here's the some of the cows on the farm. I had just given them their daily rations of corn and fodder. So Lou's definitely working out on the farm.
Yes.
And here they are. He gets some nice photos of these cows. These are the little babies.
Photo of the cows.
Aw, there they are. And then we have some more. Now here's one that's named. We get to see this one. All right. This is Annabella. Again, see the straps around her neck. Yeah. But here's Annabella the cow. So on the property. That's a nice name. That reminds me of that Christmas cute little movie, Annabelle's Wish. If you haven't seen that, that's a good one for the kids.
Well, I'm looking at this cow, and I'm guessing that these were calves that probably were bred for keeping milk cows in. I think. Because this looks a little bit like a Holstein, which is the black and white one, I think. Yeah. Somebody can correct me. I should just say the wrong thing and just get corrected. But I think it's a Holstein Angus mix because it looks a little bit, which is good for like you want for the milking and the meat, you know, so that they could be a dual purpose. But this looks like maybe she was, you know, bred specifically to keep her mama in milk. Yeah.
So most likely. And then we do have another close up and another named one. Here you go, Jamie. This is Chuck. Absolutely right. Our steer. These are heifers and one steer. Yeah. We'll get the close up here on Chuck the cow.
Told you. That's because me and Chester.
Yeah, think the same way.
We would get along so well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I would just be like, sir, and
Mm-hmm.
he would call me some nickname. I don't know. But yeah, I knew one was going to be Chuck. But this is actually a very nice picture too.
It is.
With the sunlight coming in, and if he is taking these for his mother, which I assume that he is,
Mm-hmm.
and probably Joe Marguerite and did, but it's neat for them to kind of see what farm life would be like.
Yeah, because they keep hearing about it. They keep hearing Sweetie talking about it. Chester's written about it. I'm sure they've seen some of the letters from Chester talking about the orchard and what they're up to and things like that. So just to have the reference to see these photos, it's really, really great. And we'll put the whole gallery of these up there. Now, this one, I think this is like the finale photo because we don't have many beyond this. But I just love Lou's commentary on this photo as well as the subject because it shows his humor and just his ingenuity. And he writes here, I took this from the top of my car. See the cake of salt in the background. So he's taking pictures for our audio listeners here of these cows, with the cake of salt. See about here in the background. And you can see this. It looks very odd. If he hadn't said what was going on, we wouldn't know exactly what this is. He's standing on the top of the car and taking this shot. So
he drove up. You can see the fence there, and he probably fed him right there. And then to get a good shot.
There he is standing on the top of the car. I gotta get a good picture, and that is a nice picture. All 4 of them. They clearly have 4 cows here. We don't know the other names of the other 2 other cows. Hey, everybody in the comments, go ahead and why don't we give some names to the 2 other cows? That'd be really fun. We know one is Annabella, and we know one is Chuck. So let's name the other 2.
Well, now I'm thinking of like that Annabelle doll and the Chucky doll. Like now, like these are after horror, like he didn't do that obviously intentionally, but yeah. So but do we have any dates on these photos?
We don't, but we know these photos are going to be based on after she dug the pit in September 13th. They were still in that last letter. They were still digging the outhouse. So I'm guessing this is the beginning of November.
I see.
Yeah. There are other reasons that I think this is the beginning of November that our audience is going to understand as we listen to the last letters that are going on in this episode. I asked my dad about how Lou found working on the farm, what he felt about living in Lacona, and he simply responded, he didn't like it. And we're going to see some of that play out in the second half of the letters of this episode. But Jamie, I'm so delighted that you get to see these and that our audience gets to see these. So I'll put the link in the description of the video and the description of the audio as well to the exact page where these are to be found on the Love Sweetie podcast website. So everybody can take their time. There's going to be even more photos put up there. There's a lot of photos of fields. I think there's at least a couple more of the pond. If you're all if you're into hearing about this pond where I'm sure Chester puttered about, to your heart's content. There you go. And I believe we've always had one picture on the website of Chester sort of striding about in a field. And I believe that's probably his farm as well, because he's holding, we talked about the cattails. He's holding the cattails. So I'll move one of those photos over there as well. And we can actually get the idea, the location, the big sense of the Supreme Putter puttering about. So, all right, but
moving forward, we are going to hit the second half of our huge letter dump today.
Yep.
With our sixth piece of correspondence, and it fits very well in with the pictures. If these did happen around October, November.
Yep.
This one is from November 15th.
November 15th, 1948. Dear Jean, one of Daddy's patients came in today for a cold shot and was feeling sorry for himself since he takes cold easily and has had only his first shot. There is a little influenza virus vaccine type A and B in the refrigerator. Could you write back and tell me if that is right stuff and how much to give? The doses are increased in size as the course goes on, aren't they? He seemed doubtful that I could do it, but said he might come back. Please write quickly with careful directions. Sweetie.
These are what I'd like to call the Nurse Sweetie letters. Sweetie's clearly working in the doctor's office here, but she is not a trained nurse. But she's good at one thing. She likes to keep drinking or eating sulfa pills whenever she can for feeling well. Yeah, Nurse Sweetie. Good thing is her sister's a nurse. Big question is, why isn't she able to ask Chester about this? And Laura, who's an RN, where is Laura? So we start to wonder, wouldn't she go to the doctor first about what dosage to give?
That is a very good question.
What is going on here?
Do you have some thoughts about that? Or
our next letters are going to give some more thoughts about that. So without further ado, let's dive into the second note that comes in on the same day, November 15th.
Lacona, Iowa, November 15th, 1948. Dear Jean, the folks left at 4:30 p.m. yesterday, Sunday, to go to Iowa City. They'll stay overnight at Boudreaux's and then take KM and leave there for Indiana this AM. They were going to call Frank from Iowa City and ask if they should visit them first or on their way back. We'll have to hear from them along the way to know for sure what their plans are. I apologize for not even sending you a card on your birthday, but just then I was stymied, having just come in from the country on the 7th. I couldn't have gotten it to you on the 8th, so as usual, instead of just leaning a little, I completely laid down on the job. But right after I got in from Metz's, I got sick, spent 2 days in bed, and haven't been feeling too hot since. I'll try to make it up to you if I can. You wrote you were coming down this weekend. I thought you might not come if you knew for sure the folks were gone. I hope you'll come anyway if there aren't any festive plans a-brewin', and I warn you beforehand. I'll work the trousers offen you. Lou has to leave, so I'll have to stop. Drop us a card. Poor letter's better'n nothin'. Love, Sweetie. If you come, I'll tell you all about Metz's.
Okay.
Okay. Let's
Yeah.
deconstruct this.
Yep.
Let's check this out. Let's do some detective work.
Yep.
So obviously the folks are gone.
Yep.
They're gonna go and visit family
In Indiana.
But again, we get that whole traveling in the 1940s. We're going to send you letters from the road kind of vibe, which is I just like it's fun.
Yeah.
And so I apologize. I just was stymied. I come in from the country on the 7th. And so she was somewhere.
She went somewhere, yeah.
And she says the Metzes?
Yeah, I don't know what the reference to the Metzes is about, and unfortunately she's leaving it to a conversation. We see that at the end. But she has all of these old acquaintances that she could visit in Iowa, so I assume she's out somewhere visiting an old acquaintance while she has the moment to do so. Because as soon as she gets back, even though she's not feeling well, Chester and Laura are like, all right, we're going to go. Now, if you look at the timeline as well, it's mid-November. And there's one thing that's going to happen at the end of November every year, and that's Thanksgiving. So I get the sense that he got called to like a family reunion in Indiana. His family's largely based there, and that he headed out. Which all of this reveals why she's the one giving the dosage in the previous letter, why it's all of a sudden Nurse Sweetie, the doctor's out of town. And this is a small town. If someone needs like a flu shot or something like that, this is the age of like people giving themselves penicillin shots, and things like that. So they're saying, well, you know what? If someone needs like a flu shot, it's all labeled. It's in the fridge, just give it to them. And at least she's thinking, well, at least Jean's nearby. She can respond about this thing. Maybe he'll come back if I get like word on what to do. Why go to Des Moines or go to a bigger town when it's like a flu shot or something like that needs to be taken? So that's why Nurse Sweetie is occurring right now with her experiences. And this is going to continue as we will see in our next letter, our next note to Jean here on November 22nd. So let's see if Sweetie's running into a bit more, I wouldn't say altogether crisis, but still some worry about trying to basically hold down the fort in Lacona while the doctor's out of town.
Lacona, Iowa, November 22nd. 1948. Dear Jean, I stopped in to see Mr. Peake and found he was starting into one of those spells where the burning starts in his chest and grows in intensity until he is gasping for breath. and a little wild-eyed. He has to open doors and windows and claw for air. At the time I arrived, he told me the burning was getting worse. He was having difficulty breathing, and had a little difficulty telling me about it. I asked what he'd taken, and he said nothing so far, but he'll have to take a dose of morphine before he'd get any relief. I insisted he take it right then instead of waiting until he was so upset and in such a state of suffocation, and I sort of waited around till the morphine took a hold and he was relieved by it quickly. I tried to tell him he would be better off to take it sooner, and he finally told me he didn't want to take morphine for fear he became addicted to it, and since he had only 2 left, I tried to delay taking them. After I insisted he take a dose, he had only 1 left, so he sent his grandson in last night, and I gave him 6 1/4-gram morphine pills. I couldn't find an 1/8-gram pills, and from comparing pills, I assumed 1/4 gram was okay. Tell me, Mr. Anthony, did I do right? Love, Sweetie.
I love how she's like taking over.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sweetie's in the house now.
Dr. Sweetie is in the house. When I read this, as like, this sounds like a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might be having a heart problem.
Yeah.
But if opening doors and windows and getting air, it honestly sounded a little bit like a panic attack.
Yeah, definitely something where it seems to be this is someone that probably has a prescription that he's getting filled by Dr. Demaree. This is a good time to mention, now that we've mentioned morphine, Benzedrine, and all these other things as tradition in these episodes, please don't DIY medicines from the 40s to help yourself these days. Please consult your doctor. Talk to your doctor about what you should be doing, and don't take advice from, well, even Chester from the 40s, but Sweetie's not an actual doctor, and she's not an RN. So there's stuff here, but this is not to be construed as medical advice in any way. Okay, disclaimer over, since we're past the self-medication of morphine pills.
And even back then, they knew that the morphine was very addictive. You know, this is not something that you should be doing lightly. So he was aware. But I do honestly think that he probably could have gotten some like antihistamine and like that might have taken care unless he was having a heart problem.
Yeah, potentially a heart issue. Yeah.
But so this is November 22nd. So we know that the good doctor and his wife have not returned.
No.
At this time. Yeah.
They're still out of town. And I feel that, I mean, we could check to see what date was Thanksgiving in 48, but I imagine it's right around this time period.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It was November 25th. So yeah, they must be in Indiana for Thanksgiving. We have 2 pieces of correspondence left. We're already there, which is very, very interesting. This next one, we get to hear a voice we haven't heard in a while, and it's going to start to clue us into what we're about to get into in the coming episodes here. So, very, very short piece of correspondence, and we'll just let it play.
December 11, 1948. Dear Gene, on the last lap, about 250 miles to go. Thanks again for everything. Take care of my family for me. Love, Benny.
What?
That was from Lou.
That's from Lou.
That's a letter from Lou. And I'm sorry. On the last lap? Take care of my family for me?
Take care of my family for me. Lou, where are you going? Well, it would help to show the postcard a little bit about where he is. We do have the postcard. Jamie, I think this is going to be a familiar sight for you. Here we have a tunnel.
I've seen that before.
Yep. Western
and
Pennsylvania.
That's when you come out of a tunnel and go right back into another tunnel.
This says the Twin Tunnels, Kittatinny, I guess that is how you pronounce it, Kittatinny and Blue Mountain on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, west of Carlisle in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, America's superhighway. It's still the superhighway that costs the most to drive on. In the world. So Lou's sending a picture of the tunnel for the turnpike, and that's why he's saying 250 miles to go, because as anybody knows who travels across Pennsylvania, that means you're around Pittsburgh. Actually, he's traveling through basically where Jamie is right now and heading back towards Philadelphia. Lou, where are you going? Take care of my family.
Plot
for me.
thickens.
Plot twist.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and Benny. That's Benny.
Night
I wonder what
driving.
that's in reference to.
Yeah, we learned that earlier. That's also how we know these farm photos had to be taken before December 11th, because he's not there anymore. So we can date those photos pretty well. And then we get into our final document of the episode here, right at the end of December. As I promised, we're just fast forwarding right through 1948. Here we are in December.
Lacona, Iowa, December 15th, 1948. Dear Jean, as usual, my 11th hour rush is on, but it would seem that you're going to carry the brunt of it this year. Lou and I together couldn't decide about Christmas gifts for the Grahams, but now that he's gone, you and I must decide and get them taken care of. I'm really sorry not to have stirred myself sooner, and hope you'll not resent the imposition I so glibly place upon you. How did you make out with your painting? I'm almost ashamed to ask you, since I didn't give you the towels and say what I wanted on them. But towels would do all right for both Elizabeth and Marguerite, and the 2 patterns on Mama's yellow towels would be fine. Lou thought each should have 2 towels and 2 washcloths. That still leaves Joe and Bob and Lou's mother, and I would like to get something for Lou, but I may write to him about our exchanging gifts tonight. As for Joe and Bob, I suppose the inevitable tie would be made to do, and perhaps that wouldn't be too hard on you. Something sort of conservative for Bob, and a little more gay for Joe. Or if you have any ideas or suggestions, I'd be grateful. Lou's mother is a problem. I really don't know what to say about her, but in view of my lateness, if you have a painted scarf, I think that could do okay. Maybe a hanky to go with it. That would take care of them all, I think, as economically and quickly as possible, if you can do it. Did you see about a tricycle for my Louis? He seems more excited about it each day, but can't tell me what he wants Santa Claus to bring him except things in boxes. I kind of wish we'd found a few more little things from the dime house for him. Maybe I'll have some chance yet to get to Des Moines. I do want to get the trike, whether I get anything else or not. I felt a little sorry for myself, as well as lonesome and neglected after Lou left. I certainly have missed him, and the thoughts of Christmas without him leave me weepy and sad-eyed. I had thought I'd hear from him Saturday, since he left on Thursday, but the mails here are so fouled up. I got 4 on Monday, the first from Peoria, where he stayed overnight at a hotel, because the roads were bad. The second was a coffee stop in Indiana. The third was sent from the turnpike, just about Pittsburgh. And the 4th, Saturday at noon, when he'd just reached home. He had quite a lot of trouble with the car about the time he hit the turnpike, and practically limped home. I had a letter Sunday from today saying he'd worked on the car after a good sleep. Saturday afternoon at 3 till 10 a.m. Sunday. He took only 3 bennies and was quite hopped up when he got home, though he swore he waited a full 4 hours. Since it was Sunday, he hadn't been to Sun Oil yet, but he still hopes to get on the boats to make money as quickly as he can. Marguerite and Joe sent me 2 pair of 5 1-gauge nylon in the new dark shade. They are really beautiful, but so sheer I'll dread putting them on. Elizabeth sent us some things, me a pair of pants and slip to match, white jersey trimmed, in blue, and very nice. Do what you can about the things for me, and do know that I'll appreciate anything you can do. As late as it is, perhaps you could send them out from there. I'd suggest putting them all in one box and sending to Lou's mother, since they'll all be there anyway. Drop a card, and you can cuss me all you want to. I'll deserve it. Sweetie.
Oh my goodness. So, well, when Lou's like, I'm leaving, that's scary, and you don't know what's going on with that. But clearly, this was a decision that was made by the both of them for him to return out to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So she has, oh man, that's so sad.
This is a lonely Christmas here that's coming up. One thing we should note is Lewis's birthday is past. He's now 3. That happened in September, so we'll just keep track of that in the meantime. Sun Oil gets mentioned here.
Yes.
So Sun Oil ran a lot of the oil tankers that are going to be heading out of the docks of Philadelphia off to go get and fill up with oil. This is what Lou's familiar with. But she doesn't mention that he's rejoined the Navy. There's no mention of that at all, and he hasn't at this point. The only clue we get as to what's going on is Lou's at home. He's fixing the car. And she's talking about him getting on the boats. And she mentions Sun Oil. And this is where we're going to lead into our story for the next 3 episodes. For our audience here, I'm delighted to tell you that despite Sweetie being at home, and as we can see, sometimes we have to detective work our way through these letters to tell what's going on, there really isn't much contact from Sweetie. Well, I guess I shouldn't say delighted to say, but delighted in another way. Sweetie doesn't leave a lot of content for the beginning of 1949. This is her last letter from 1948. That's it. Now, we fast forward into 1949 in the next episode. I'm not going to go into the details of that episode. But the interesting thing is in absence of Sweetie writing, we turn the perspective to Lou himself. Lou is getting on some boats, as Sweetie notes. He is going to be working with Sun Oil. And so our special for this summer, this is a special trilogy of episodes we have coming up. And I just wanted to talk to our audience about what to expect in the next 3 episodes. As we head into the summer months here, we're going to take some ocean cruising with Lou. I'm not going to tell you where he's headed, but Lou has officially now joined the Merchant Marine. So if you'd like to take a cruise with Lou, we're going to be on that cruise for the next 3 episodes as we fill in the missing time period with Lou himself. Oh, and there's pictures too. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So starting next week, Sweetie's on a bit of a hiatus here. Lou takes over the podcast. And that's it.
All right. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.